Hey family, good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Live. I'm gonna give it a little bit just to let you guys know that I'm here. We're gonna do something a little bit different this evening. I had quite the weekend supporting a family. Hey, and as always, I had some very interesting divine appointments and moments that took place during that birth. And so I actually wanted to talk about that tonight. So I'm going to give it maybe like another 30 seconds and then I'm going to just hop in. So it's been an amazing, beautiful, sunny day where I am, and definitely still recovering after that birth high. You kind of crash or I crash after all the adrenaline, and it normally takes like a day or so to recover. So I'm on day 2 and I'm like just getting back to myself. So super grateful for that. So let's just dig right on into this. This is going to be a little bit different. I've been doing these lives about postpartum healing, confident birth, and upcoming talking about birth business or birth-based business. But tonight, I want to talk about something a little bit different. So, over the weekend, I was attending a birth for an amazingly beautiful family, just full of love. It was just an amazing experience. And I stepped away during this birth to grab myself some food from the calf and the husband some food from the calf. And all these details are important, so just bear with me. So on the way from labor and delivery, you run into this first cafe at this particular hospital, which is like the smaller cafe, sweets, coffee. They had some kind of vegetarian and vegan options, but didn't really strike me as delicious food based upon where I was, which was a hospital. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the main cafeteria. So I go to the information desk and I ask the guy there, like, how do I make my way to the main cafeteria? He's like, oh yeah, just go down this hallway. You'll see signs for the north elevator and just follow the signs. It'll lead you to the cafeteria. So I'm like, okay, boom. Like, it should be super simple according to the way he said it. So I'll go down this one hallway. I make a left. I'm following all of these arrows for the cafeteria. And I'm literally like winding. Hallway after hallway. Then I finally get to the elevator. And I'm like, all right, boom. Go to the next floor, second floor. From there, I'm also left, another left, all right, another left, da-da-da-da-da. And I finally get to the cafeteria. So halfway through all of this, I'm like, really? This is a lot just to get some food and a cup of coffee from this cafeteria. But, whatever. So I get there. Definitely a better selection. I pick up some food. I actually sit down and eat my food because I don't like to eat in front of clients in the room. That's kind of sucks while you're in labor in the hospital and they don't allow you to eat. But I then go back up to the counter to get this bag for the husband's food. And this gentleman walks up to me and he says, excuse me, God wants you to know that he hears you, that he sees you. Proceeds to pour into me literally answer for answer questions. And like Saturday was really rough for me. Like I'm not even gonna hold y'all. Saturday was an extremely emotionally rough day for me, just for a lot of different reasons. And so I really just was, in my car having these moments, these vulnerable moments with the Most High. And I was just like, fam, like this is a lot. Like this is a lot. And I guess I may have been feeling like, is all of this falling on deaf ears? But this guy walks up to me and he's like, no, God wants you to know that he hears you. Da, 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 da. He starts addressing literally everything that I was like speaking out in the car. And I was just like, I'm just looking at him. We have our mask on or whatever. And I'm just looking like, word? Okay. And then he proceeds to tell me, and this is what I want to share this piece, because I thought that it was so profound, and I was like, okay, I got the parts that were for me, but somebody else needs to hear this other parts, because he just started going in. So he proceeds to tell me that, on the way to becoming a diamond, diamonds go through 3 phases. He said they are pressed, they are beaten, and then they go through the fire before we see what it is that we look at as this beautiful and glorious diamond that people want to have, 4 carats, 2 carats, whatever the case may be. And oftentimes, especially, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a woman, like all the things, all the labels, right? It's hard sometimes. It's hard most of the time, actually. But we press through, we go forward, we, one step after the other. And sometimes when we have those vulnerable moments where we don't actually feel like it anymore, and it just feels like there's too many things on top of each other, back to back to back to back, at least I sometimes can feel like, oh my God, like, is any of this actually even worth it, right? And so for him to kind of step in, and really it was like an angel, because honestly, when he walked away, it's like I didn't see him. So he had on, the garb and the uniform that he worked at the actual hospital. But then when I kind of turned around to see where he walked, like, I didn't see him behind the counter. I didn't see him walking down the hallway. Like, he was just gone. And I was just like, okay. So then the other thing, he walks through that and he says, pressed, beaten, and through the fire. And I'm like, yeah, I can definitely identify the press season. I can definitely identify the beaten season. But for sure, I feel like I'm definitely going through the fire right now. And he's just like, God has got you. Like, you have to trust. You have to, stay in your gratitude, stay in your praise, stay in your worship. And again, he kind of went through some of the more personal and specific things that I have been praying about just that day before. And then he said, sometimes when we are discouraged and we're on this path, certain people, he said, we don't understand that salvation is free, but the anointing cost. And I was just like, yeah. He was like, no, it cost. And when you have a certain calling on your life, you're not always going to understand the difficulties or the betrayals or the drama that comes your way, because you're thinking, oh, like, I'm on the right path, I'm doing what I'm called to do, blah, blah, blah. Whether that's in business, whether that's in motherhood, whether that is, your spiritual path, like, I don't know, maybe it's just our human nature to think like, oh, if I do the right thing, or if I show up in the right way, then things will be okay, where we're discounting that there's likely not anybody that we look up to. There's not anybody whose story we've seen of any magnitude that hasn't been pressed, beaten, and gone through the fire. And we can sometimes idolize that, and then also forget that when we're going through our own seasons of refinement, like, this is literally what it takes to go to the next level of whatever it is that you're being called to do. And so the other piece with this is, especially as mothers, like, coming out of Mother's Day, it's like, you might hear, like, being a mother is like a thankless job. We might get homemade cards and thanks, mom, we love you, and da 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 da. But on a day in and day out basis, it's pretty thankless, which is, it's fine. It's definitely a sacrifice. Okay. But to have someone in this seemingly small moment, because here's the thing, halfway getting to that cafeteria, I was like, yo, this is a lot of twists and turns just for, possibly a sandwich, possibly a salad. Like, I don't even know what this caf has to offer. And I was literally thinking in my mind, like, this is a lot. Not even knowing the blessing or that divine moment that I was getting ready to stumble upon once I actually got there. And so often in our journeys, in business and motherhood, even in our relationships and stuff like that, we might get weary in the journey of like, oh, I'm turning left, oh, I'm turning right. Like, this is a lot of work for what? Like, possibly a salad, possibly a sandwich, or, maybe a decent cup of coffee. But I am never lost on the magnitude of the Most High meeting me, like coming to see about me. Now, I don't know what everybody's, belief, practices, all that other kind of stuff is, but in my life and in my relationship with the Most High, it's like, it's so intimate and it's so personal that there are moments like this that have happened repeatedly, where even in my darkest moments, the Most High will be like, girl, like, I see you. I hear you. I heard everything you said yesterday. I saw the tears. I saw this, that. I know it's, lonely, or, you're disappointed in this and that, or whatever the case may be. But I really want to encourage anybody that is, those are my neighbors. Hopefully I didn't actually catch their faces on there. That stay the course, even when it's difficult and you feel like you're winding and it's for no purpose. Number two, like he said, like, the salvation piece is free. That's easy. That's a level of receiving and acceptance. But when you are actually with a large anointing and calling on your life, you're going to get pressed. You're going to get beaten. You're going to go through the fire. You likely will change over groups of friends often, if at all. Like, there's going to be certain things that come along with that pressing and beating and fire. There's going to be betrayals. There's going to be lies. There's going to be beautiful times. There's going to be divine appointments all along the journey, but it's a part of the process. And just to give you hope, like, even with motherhood, you might raise your children to be a certain way and with a certain set of values. And as you're watching them grow, you might be like, oh my gosh, like, I did not raise you like this. What is actually happening? But what you're pouring into them, what you are giving to them, is in purpose. It is going to bear fruit at some point, someday. You don't know what that fruit is actually going to look like when it bears fruit, but it's just for you to continue to pour. So even for yourself, where it's like, okay, I'm going through it. This is uncomfortable. Like, God, do you even see me? Do you even hear me down here? Like, this is a lot. Like, why on earth would you put me through this intentionally, on purpose? I'm uncomfortable. And that was really where I was at. Like, I'm good. And so when this gentleman came and spoke that, it was almost like that reminder to continue with that seed of hope, right? Because if you think you make it through like the pressing season and you're like, woo, yeah, sure glad that was over. Now it's on to the good stuff. And then you're entering into the next phase, which might be a year or a couple of years later. And then you're like, oh my gosh, why do I feel like I'm getting beat up right now? This actually sucks, which, parenthood, that might be like the teen years for me. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. The preteens, that's not my favorite phase. And so there's all these seasons in life where it's like, okay, well, I already got pressed. And you're like, okay, I already got beat up. Then when it's time to go to the fire and you're right on the edge of, that breakthrough or that next level or that next season, you're like, fam, I've already been pressed. I've already been beaten. Like, yo, what is actually really good right now? And I don't think that there's enough people that are talking about this aspect of the journey. Like, I literally, the more behind the scenes conversations I'm having with, other entrepreneurs and other parents, it's like, you're not really sharing the, the ups and the downs of all of this journey and the difficulties and the strain on the family and the fact that balance is elusive at best when you are a parent and an entrepreneur. It's just more about what part of your life is actually getting the most focus and attention at any given moment. And then there's an ebb and flow between that. And so it really was like such an encouraging moment for me, not just because of what he said, which was very encouraging and very beautiful, but it was also like the understanding that what is happening in that secret place in your life, what is happening in those hard moments that nobody ever sees, what is happening in those moments where you wouldn't dare share it with anyone else for fear of judgment or retribution or any of those kind of things, especially when it comes to parenthood. Like some of the thoughts that you think like, man, like I could really do without all of this. You know, those things that you say, they don't go unheard. And when he came to me and he literally just started speaking and addressing each of these things and pouring into me, I was like, wow. Like I had such a raw moment on Saturday. And when I say moment, I mean hours in K. And for him to come and be like, yo, like, you are seen, you are heard, be encouraged. That was like amazing to me, because it's always those moments where you feel like at your worst, where you feel the most helpless, where you feel like nothing is working, or at least it's not working the way that you think it should work, that you have no thought that you're seen, heard, understood in those moments. No matter how many people love you or they say they love you, or no matter how many likes you have on social media or any of that crap, when you are in those moments of despair, really, and you're just like feeling so overwhelmed, when you then come to another moment of hope where someone is saying, no, you're seen. I know you don't know me. Sometimes you do need a stranger to tell you this. Because it wasn't even like he gave me a generic message. He came and he hit everything. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh, wow. And then he gave me a song to listen to on YouTube. Like, it was a whole moment. And I thought to myself, like, okay, I'm in the hospital supporting this family. I think I got the call like late or early in the morning, after, you know, wee hours of the morning, after having had that long day, the call to go and attend this birth. And so there wasn't really any settling in a transition from what I experienced on Saturday to then supporting this family in birth. And so even in the midst of me supporting this family, even not having time to fully process that rough moment I was having on Saturday, I was still met with hope. I was still met with encouragement. I was still met with a reminder that there is a purification process that we all have to go through. And we're not always going to like it. It's not always going to be comfortable, but it's for a reason. And I just wanted to share that in case anyone is feeling like the season that they are in doesn't make sense. You might be being pressed, you might be being beaten, or you might be going through the fire right now. Take your pick. You might feel like that is endless, that it's never going to end. And so I just wanted to share that story to encourage you, because even me, I am a relatively optimistic person. I'm probably more of a realist now more than optimistic, but I don't necessarily walk around life, woe is me, and with this negative outlook. And even I can just get so discouraged sometimes. And so to be able to have this person just stop randomly and speak to me all of the things that I had been like crying about just the day before, and encouraging me out of nowhere in the middle of the day while I'm grabbing some food in the middle of a birth, I was like, wow, like there's divine moments all the time. And I have them pretty frequently, but they're not always a moment that pours into me specifically. And so I was just very grateful to have that moment. And so, like I said, I'm normally on here and I'm talking about, you know, confident birth or, you know, postpartum healing and all these other topics. But today I was like, no, like there's a lot of heaviness in the air right now. We've all been going through quite a bit over this last period of time. And some of us are handling it well, and some of us are not handling it so well on any given day. And so I just want to encourage you the way that I felt encouraged. The guy's name was Morris. Like I said, he kind of like disappeared, literally. Like he walked this way and I turned to like, hey, like to say thank you. And he was like gone. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, like, was that an angel or something? Like, it was that kind of a moment. Like, it was so profound. And so I just walked away, like, so grateful that no matter where I'm at on my path, that I know that the Most High, yes, it's a God wink. And I especially love when it comes in the form of a human being, because his words were so specific to me. They were so loving. They were so spot on that there was no confusion. He literally just spent 7 minutes or so pouring into me, answering those questions, reaffirming those doubts and moments that I had the day before about a whole host of things. And so for you, if you guys are feeling like that, I just wanted to share that and kind of pay that forward, because we're not alone. Even if everybody in our life doesn't understand what we're going through, even if everyone in our life is out of touch, not caring about us, not focusing on us, not seeing our pain, not seeing how overwhelmed we are and our need for a break, not seeing that we need encouragement or, support in the various ways that we need support, that it's okay, because literally the Most High sees us, hears us, like everything. Like there was no one around me on Saturday. I was totally alone in my car having my moment. And so to have this stranger in a calf in a hospital come and speak to me about those precise things, it's like, it has to be a God wink. Like you said, Rain, it has to be. And I'm so grateful, because it's such a beautiful feeling when you're like, oh, okay, like who am I that the Most High would come and send this person to come and speak into my life in this way. And so I feel an obligation to also be that towards other people. Like if you don't have anyone speaking into your life, that you're going to make it. And yes, you may be very well getting pressed and or beaten and or going through the fire, but that gem, that diamond that you become on the other side, like lean into that, because that is what is a part of the process. Like you are becoming. And there are some super hard moments in the midst of becoming, but they are worth it, and they're with a purpose. We're not just out here being pressed and beaten and going through a fire for no reason. It has a purpose. We're being cultivated into someone that we need to be for ourselves, for our family, for the world. We have a divine purpose and calling attached to all of this process and all of this pain. And so if you're in a moment, in a space, May is Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month. And like I said, being a mother is has to be one of the most thankless jobs. Has to be on earth. And you might be at your wit's end, like, what is the point of all of this? I want to encourage you that it is for a purpose. There is a diamond of an experience, a diamond of a child, a diamond of a mother or a father or a parent on the other side of this process. And so if you are having a rough time and if you are struggling, I really just want you to be encouraged. So I wanted to share that with you guys tonight. I'm trying to think if there was something else. He said a lot, and like I said, most of it was like super tailor fit, so I don't really need to really get into that. But in this microwave world of like instant success and, going viral and all of these things, we forget that there's a process. There's no such thing as like an overnight success. There's no such thing as like a baby popping out as a fully grown adult that has all these values and amazingness to them. No, there's a process. You are being grown through your childhood. You're having values instilled into you to create this person. You're having all these experiences that lead to who it is that you ultimately become. Like everything is a process. Pregnancy is a process. Growing up is a process. And then becoming the person that you're called to be in addition to all of that is a whole nother process. It's like everything is a process. And so sometimes we need those moments of encouragement and reminding ourselves that there is a purpose. We are called to this life for a purpose, and it's most certainly not comfortable at all times, but that is the cost. That's the cost of the oil cost. You want to have a thriving family. You want to have a thriving business. You want to be a whole, healed, or ever healing, I should say, adult, then you've got to go through the process. And that pressing and that oil, it costs. It's not free. You don't show up, managing your triggers and with emotional intelligence and able to interact with the people in your life in a healthy manner without being pressed. That oil cost. The oil of successfully being who it is you want to be in this life, it costs. It costs each and every one of us. It costs something. And if we're unwilling to go through the process, then we will not get the outcome that we seek. So be encouraged, y'all. I love y'all. I am so encouraged. It's not even funny. Like, I'm very encouraged. I'm gonna turn this light on because I'm kind of like in Shadowland here. But yeah, it cost. Everything that we desire is on the other side of the process that we might be willing and or unwilling to go through. And so if you're making that choice right now and you're just like, what is this? What the heck? And you're just tired, like, dang, I'm just exhausted with this life right here. It's okay. It's for a reason. You're not unseen. So I love you guys. It was just powerful, man. It's powerful to know that the Most High is always listening. There's always someone there listening. And I don't mean a someone like a person, but it's like we're not alone in our moments of despair. We're not alone in those hard moments that no one ever sees. And sometimes someone might come along to remind you. Sometimes you might watch a live like this. Sometimes you might see a post, on social media that speaks to your particular pain point. But the point is like you're not alone. You don't have to suffer alone. You don't even have to suffer quietly. Say what you gotta say. You don't have to like all the beating and the fire that we go through every day. You don't have to like every aspect of pregnancy or parenthood or life at all. Business at all. Like, that's not necessary for us to continue walking in this process. And so, just be encouraged. Speak your piece. Don't keep it bottled up. Get support if you need it. Make sure you have a good therapist that you vibe with. Make sure you're eating well, you're moving your body, like all the good stuff, But yeah, it was such an encouraging moment. And I think I'm always in awe, because I think the last time I was supporting a family in hospital, was when I ran into my OB and I had like another God wink moment. And so I was like, oh, like, is this what we're doing? Like, when I go to hospitals and I'm supporting families, that I'm just having these amazing divine appointments. And so I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I wanted to share with you guys for sure. I appreciate you all, and I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that you are taking your mental health extremely seriously and putting yourself first and making sure that you are nourishing yourself every step of the way on the journey, wherever you are, whether you're a parent or not. That you stay encouraged, and that you never feel that you are alone, because you are not alone. There's always someone there. And if you feel like they're not, feel free to reach out, send me an email, whatever. There's always going to be someone who cares. I care. And if you feel like you have no one else in this world that cares but Jacqueline Clemens, then just know right now that you are hearing someone say that you matter. And what you're experiencing, it matters. It's valid. It's important. You are important, and how you feel is important. And so if you never hear it again for the rest of the day from anybody else, please hear me say that today. You matter. You're not alone. And in those moments where you feel like no one hears and sees you, that the Most High definitely hears you and sees you. So even if he has to send you an angel named Morris in the cafeteria at the hospital that you had to go through a maze to find, then it'll happen just like that. All right, peace.